You know the Iran from 2008, so from the time before the happenings in 2009. What was your impression in this time of the political situation in Iran?
What drove me to want to go to Iran and spend first time experience there was this like forever like aggression from Israel and the US. Every year they keep threatening they're going to attack Iran, they're going to attack Iran. So I just felt the need to connect to people in Iran and learn about them and share solidarity. So I decided to use Iran as a base. And I spent the most lovely time because it was actually a time where people were like getting like excited about, you know, celebrating youth and arts and culture. It was so shocking to see that just a year later, everything changed so dramatically, you know. And now I'm a little bit like, what can I do, you know, to navigate this new reality? And I'm really looking for projects where I can have some sort of positive effect on the ground, because there are a lot of activities going on and a lot of confusion because, you know, as I said, you know, it's not because I am working to help prosecute Israel for its war crimes that I am going to agree with the Iranian government. And I think that happens a lot. Like this morning I was discussing, you know, and, you know, people say, oh, when the U.S. attacked Iraq, Iranians were celebrating. You know, it doesn't work that way, you know. And a lot of times people say, oh, you're working with Turkish people because you're doing this thing for Gaza, but Turkish people are bad. They oppress the Kurdish people. See, everybody has blood in their hands. It doesn't seem to me that one excludes the other. And in fact, we just have to figure out ways of having some sort of sensical situation, because the idea of Ahmadinejad going to Lebanon and being celebrated by Hezbollah or the Palestinians because they are against Israel, it's not so simple, and that's where it gets complicated. How can we be supportive of the Iranians without falling into this other thing? You know, like a lot of times people were saying, America, if you want the grassroots movement in Iran to succeed, don't interfere. Let it be an Iranian movement, you know? And in a way, there is truth to that. The more you meddle, maybe the more you interfere and create opposite effects. So it would be great if the grassroots movement in Iran could be self-sufficient and promote change independently from, you know, U.S. intervention or European intervention. But on the other hand, I don't know if they can pull it off on their own. So we do have to share global solidarity and try to not let governments interfere, but on the level of people, we should all work in unison and support Iranians who are suffering so much at this moment.
But because you said it's a grassroots movement for you, on the other side, it started with an election campaign for the presidential election. So Mousavi is not really a grassroots activist. So how can you, or how do you handle with all these questions? Okay, is it now a Mousavi movement? Is it a grassroots movement? Is it supported by I don't know which power or other state? So how can we get clear of this?
I mean, governments are governments, you know. It's, again, one of those situations you never go from bad to good. Look at the United States. You know, we had so much hope that we were going to go from bad to good, and we are still, like, you know, in Afghanistan, the government of the United States, you know, started confronting Israel, but now is shaking hands with Netanyahu, saying that he's going to spend vacation with his family, you know, in Israel and so forth. So it's very sad that we always get into this situation where humans want to believe that there is a better option. And that's why I think, in a way, we have to give up on the idea that governments will be the transformative power. And we really have to kind of like be hands-on. I just don't see how we can trust governments, you know. And it's almost like an institution that needs to be revamped. This whole idea of nation state and, you know, all these, the way the world is organized and political parties and governments is just completely obsolete. It's not working out. And I know to have this kind of systemic change is like easier said than done, but we need to work toward that, you know. Change is not going to come from government, and it's never going to be from bad to good. It's always from bad to bad, unfortunately, yeah.
I don't know how is the situation in USA about Iran or solidarity with Iran, because here, honestly to say, we have very good solidarity or good contacts. The Austrian companies have good contacts to Iranian governments, so they earn a lot of money, and we invite the politicians of Iran because of economic interests. But if you have looked for some demonstrations of solidarity 2009, it was almost no Austrian or no Austrian without Iranian background who have been there. So how is this situation in USA? Is there a solidarity outside the Iranian exile groups?
I think it was kind of amazing when the elections were stolen in Iran that we created this movement where young people were communicating and all of a sudden getting more aware of what was going on. So there was a little bit of a boost of morale in the sense that people felt like, oh, look, they're trying to shut down information and not allow any information to come out. But people were using their gadgets and getting the info out. If you censor something, you find a proxy way and circumvent it. So that empowers young people, and but we need to follow up, because it has to go beyond just like Iranians living in the U.S., Iranians living in Europe. It has to become something more of a global solidarity movement, and that's something I try to promote everywhere I go. We are so interconnected, and people feel like, oh, I don't care about what's going on in Somalia, Afghanistan, Iran, because I don't have relatives there, I don't have friends there. But it's not so simple. We are all interconnected. And if we have nuclear disaster in this part of the world, it's going to have repercussion in this other part of the world. If you have, millions of people getting killed because of the content that we have on our cell phones and laptops, we are responsible for all the killing in the Congo as well, So the more we can promote the idea of interconnectedness and then global solidarity, I think we have a better chance of succeeding as human species,
I think one of the problems in Austria was that you didn't know how to handle with a movement which has had, with Musavi at first one leader, but at least there was not really a clear political direction or program. They just want to have more freedom, more rights. Yeah, it was just a basic human rights or civil rights movement. But I have had this feeling that it was hard for people to get solidarity with this basic movement.
I know, and as I say again, I think it's time for us to really focus on civil society and not so much about governments, because solutions will not come from governments. And it's about, as I always say, little ants working together, people working together, and not being afraid. I mean, now we have this whole situation of fear effect. People were so courageous. They were out on the streets, the youth. I've never seen something like that. But then when you start getting people killed and thousands thrown in jail, even the young people, they're like, we are rebels, we want change, we want freedom, but people get so scared. And I don't know how to overcome this, because I understand, not everybody has complex of martyrdom, people want to live. But we need to have the courage element, and keep working as cautiously as possible to preserve life, but we should not allow these kind of intimidating tactics from the government to deter us from moving forward. And, I know it sounds abstract, but we need to keep organizing, circumventing censorship, getting lawyers to support and get some of the activists out of jail. And it's just really sad that high-profile people manage to get out of jail, but there are thousands there that are completely forgotten, because of one photograph, because of one article, because of one presence in the demonstration. And these are the people that really need our solidarity, because they are no name, they're not famous. And hopefully the ones that were in jail, that are out of jail now, will use the spotlight to support the ones that are rotting there, And I know it's hard. There are so many conflicts around the world, but considering that is like the epicenter of, recipient of Israel-U.S. aggression, I think it makes it geographically very important for citizens of the world to really focus on it,